welcome up Ronnie's uncle, my brother, retired.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Was that a powerful, powerful display of courage tonight with our actors here? Wow. I worked in the South Bronx, and I ran into a lot of burning buildings, and they weren't half as scary as getting up here and not knowing what the next line is going to be. I'll take that any day. I could easily see why Ronnie loved this, because he liked walking that edge. He loved that excitement, and I could see him just being in this environment up here and really prospering. Ronnie was very intense. When he put his mind to something, whether it was drama or whether it was going overseas, becoming a U.S. Army Ranger, he was very, very intense. He went to Iraq, then he came back, then he went to Afghanistan, and in between that, I had the opportunity to talk to him. And I said, look, Ron, you've been over there twice. The odds are slowly creeping against you. It's probably, why don't you just kind of lay back? He just had made sergeant, right? He was really proud of it. 21 years old, sergeant in U.S. Army, the elite Army Corps. That's pretty darn good. So Ron says to me, we were sitting down alone in a room. He says, Dan, another word from you, and I'm leaving this room. My men are going to be safer with me than without me. I've been with them for years, and now I'm their sergeant. So we're changing the topic. And when Ron talked like that, you got that he was changing the topic. And he did. Unfortunately, when he went back, he lost his life over there. But Ron would have went even if he knew that was going to be the result. Because he wanted to make a contribution. And he did. Now, I wrote a little book after 9/11. It's called the 5 Golden Keys to Happiness and Success. And inside the front cover here is a picture of the bad man himself, Ronnie. With all information about him, I dedicated this little book. All I know is in it. And a quote from Ronnie. He said, "Find a cause you can believe in and pursue it with all your heart." Now that was Ronnie. Now I dedicated this book to him because all of the things that I wrote in here were things that Ronnie lived by. Number 1 says, develop your talents. See, for the young folk in here, when you're growing up, at this point in your life, your primary job is to seek out all the talents and assets that you have, to explore them, to investigate them, and then develop them. Right? Because a lot of them are really deep. It's like digging into a chest of gold that's beneath a lot of surface material. You got to eat away at that. You got to chip away at that to get to the core. Some people know what their talents are right away, and some people have to work at it, and it takes a long, long time. Ronnie worked at things. He had a little inkling for music, so he became a good drummer, and he started the band. He liked sports a little bit, so he worked out with weights and became a great football player. He liked the art of communication, so he hooked up with Mr. Harvey here and had a great time in his drama. And then he took some of that stuff, to the school board, as we heard, and did a lot of crazy stuff. When he walked into a room, you got that he was there. He liked fishing a little bit, so he became a really good fisherman. And he loved serving his country, and he wanted to be the best at it, so he joined the Army. But that wasn't enough. He had to become a U.S. Army Ranger. Very tough to do that. So Ronnie explored his talents. If you take nothing else from what he did, he got what God gave him, and he said, you know what? I'm going to dig deep and find out what's inside of me. You know, the word eidos is the root word of education. It doesn't mean to push in, it means to draw out. And that's the job of all you young people, to draw out what's already there and discover what's there and then develop it, just like Ronnie did. Now, the second one I want to mention to you is to serve other people. Like Ronnie, we know he served other people. You know, he lost his life. He made the ultimate sacrifice over Afghanistan. But he was a big brother to a lot of people. He had a friend who was a little heavy, so he had him come over lifting weights all the time, trying to help him out. And I believe that that's a big reason why Ronnie was such a happy person. I had the opportunity to speak at a conference called Happiness and Its Causes. And I was really interested to go because who isn't interested in happiness, right? We all want to achieve happiness. So I went there and I did my little spiel, and then there were actually 87 other speakers. And one of them was the Daly and the other one was Jane Goodall, the world's foremost primatologist. And I listened to all the other speakers, trying to like pick up a cue. What's the common denominator in all these speakers about how we can attain our happiness? You know what it was? It was service. If you don't have a strong measure of service in your life, just like our alumni have, who came back here, and these individuals who came up here and braved this stage, if you don't have a strong component of that in your life, you can never really achieve the full breadth of happiness. And Ronnie knew that. And he acted like that. And he was bold and ferocious going after it, because this is no dress rehearsal. This is your one life that you have. And the last one I want to talk about is walking with an attitude of gratitude. Ronnie had an attitude of gratitude. You know, sometimes we wake up in the morning, we don't feel that good. We put our feet out of bed. I got my homework to do. My girlfriend broke off with me. I think I'm going to throw a pity party for myself. And I'm going to invite all my friends. And we're all going to sit around and talk about how bad I have it. Ronnie never threw any pity parties. Yeah, I've been working with our injured vets for the last 10 years, since the war started. And some of these guys have come home missing 4 limbs. And we went down to Walter Reed Hospital and convinced them to take part in marathon using special bikes that they could operate with their hand. So for weekends, year after year, I was spending weekends with these guys, seeing how brave they were, jumping on these makeshift bikes and doing 26 miles around New York and Berlin and Rio. And then they'd come back after and say, "Hey, Dan, how about a beer and a burger?" Wow. Now, when I went home after one of these weekends, do you think I was worried about the pimple at the end of my nose or my hairdo that day? No. No pity party for me once you see people who really suffer. Ronnie got that too. When he woke up, he put his foot on the ground. He walked with an attitude of gratitude. So when you leave here today, remember the courage that you saw up here. This really is not easy. And they did it for Ron. They have an attitude of gratitude. So take a little bit of that attitude of gratitude. You know why? Because cortisol, when you worry, cortisol is running through your system, destroying you. How about a little happiness? How about a little joy? Just push yourself a little bit more to be like Ron was, to be a positive person. And that first thing in the morning, the first thing, just say, "Thank you. Let me do something good today." Just start it like that. Even if you have to force yourself to do it, just start it like that. Now, I'd like to close with a poem that, first of all, I brought a bunch of these books for members of the staff, and it's a few extra ones. If there's someone interested in one, I'll leave them down here. So I'd like to close with a poem that really reverberates with the philosophy of Ron. It's by George Bernard Shaw. It's called The Splendid Torch. The real joy in life is being used for a purpose considered by yourself to be a mighty one, to be a force of nature, not a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not dedicate itself to your happiness. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the entire community. And while I'm alive, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. You see, when I die, I want to be thoroughly used up. For the harder I work, the more I live. You see, life is no brief candle to me. It is a kind of a splendid torch that I've got a hold of for the moment. And I want it to burn as brightly as possible before passing it on to future generations. So I'm sure that Ron would be okay with me saying that Ron wants each and every one of you here to hold your torch high and let it burn wildly every day of your life. Thank you very much.